It's mailbag time here on the Raiders Report. I'm Mitchell Renz, and I'm answering all the questions from our live show on January 30th. We did a special live show showing love to Mount Raidermore's newest potential member, Ben Thrack. Yet to see if he made it or not. Tune into our Thursday live show. If you see any questions on this episode, I wanted them to all be around free agency, all for them to be around trades. So that's where the concentration is. And if you're like, hey, how can I get on a future show? Subscribe and join our live programs. Let's go to the first one coming in here from Sal. If Trey Smith from Kansas City ends up being a free agent, I think he would be a great pickup. Would rather spend money on O-line than a Tee Higgins. And I agree with you, where I know Higgins is a dog, but to me, I'm not going to spend big money on a wide receiver until I know what our quarterback situation is, right? Like, I don't need to go down the Devontae Adams train again. We saw you could have the most talented wide receiver in the league, but if nobody's throwing him the football, he's just kind of another receiver. For the Raiders to win, you need to be able to win in the trenches. Trey Smith's probably the top guard out there, though, I'm not going to lie, he might get too hefty of a bag, which does concern me a little bit, but also being able to steal him away from Kansas City is important. If the Raiders sign Trey Smith, I would not be upset about it at all. I would like it a lot, quite frankly. Let's go to Raider Tome. Trade for running back Travis Etienne from the Jags. Probably get him for a third-round pick in only 27. Respectfully, I think this is a really bad idea, and I say that because he's 27. He's had a lot of injury concerns. You're telling me I got to give up a third-round pick, and you're going to have to pay him. Like, I would just rather draft a back in the third round. You can get an Amari Hampton. Might be able to get a Caleb Johnson, a Scatabo, a Travion Henderson in the third round, right? Like, I would rather get a running back and have him on a rookie contract for 4 years instead of going out and trading for ATN, because he's a better pass-catching back. You still then got to go out and find somebody that can run between the tackles. What do you think of McMillan at 6, best offensive tackle in the second, and Dylan Gabriel and Travion Henderson in the third? I don't love this draft, I'll be real. I would be pretty disappointed that this ended up being the draft. I love McMillan. He's a dog. He's probably the top wide receiver in this year's class. But again, Dylan Gabriel's not ready to start right away. Travion Henderson is a good running back. To me, there's better running backs that have better value in the third round. Best offensive tackle in the second. Depends who that is. Maybe it's the kid out of Arizona. I kind of answered this one already. I'm not going to take a wide receiver at 6 unless I know who our quarterback is. If the Raiders go out and they pay somebody like a Sam Darnold, maybe you go out and trade for a Dak. Maybe you pay somebody like Kirk Cousins, whoever, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, then maybe that idea becomes a little bit more of a possibility. But even in that, I'm not drafting. I think the Raiders have too many other big fish to fry to take a receiver at number 6. Yes, I want to go best player available, but there's a lot of other better players at bigger positions of need for the silver and black. Let's go to Patrick here. Speaking of Sam Darnold, I know Russ and Gino had worked with Carroll before. What about Sam Darnold? What would it cost? Thanks, love the show. I would say that Russ and Gino is probably a higher probability than bringing in Sam Darnold, but again, I'm sitting on my computer today. Again, I'm filming this on January 30th, and I saw an article from The Athletic, and it was all around Darnold and how the Raiders could potentially be interested in him. The idea of the Raiders being interested in Darnold, I think, just stems from Pete Carroll has had success with quarterbacks in the past that have, people have given up on. Geno Smith is a good example of that. John Spytek had success with Baker Mayfield, another quarterback that people kind of gave up on. And if you're the Raiders and you don't want to go down the Aidan O'Connell train again, because I'm telling you, it's not going to be Aidan this season, could you potentially look at Darnold, who's coming off of a career year? So how about this? You guys get to call the shots here. Would you sign Sam Darnold? Give me a yes, give me a no, and if you tell me yes, tell me what you would pay him, because coming up here after this YouTube ad break, I'm going to give you my answer. I'm also going to tell you what I think it would cost to go get the former Viking QB. I'm going to say no. I don't want the Raiders to sign Darnold because I think it's going to cost more than what it would cost to go out and get somebody like Russell Wilson, where I think that you could get Russell Wilson at like 3 years, maybe like 70 to 75 million. The first 2 years are guaranteed. Where I think Darnold's going to get a contract somewhere around 3 for $100, and he's going to get a deal very similar to what Geno got, 3 for $100. If those numbers end up coming down, then that changes my idea here a little bit. But at the same time, if I'm just going to look at price tag, Sam Darnold being almost, 30% more than somebody like Russell Wilson, I don't love that idea. But if you told me, do I want Sam Darnold or Aidan O'Connell to start, I'll pick Sam Darnold every day of the week. Let's go to Curtis Bishop. Draft Genty, Milroe, TJ Sanders, Fairchild, sign Wilson, Metcalf, Byron Murphy. Yeah, you got to trade for Metcalf. And Wagner, keep Polamayo, Meredith, Chasen, Kuntz, Spillane, Merrick, and Adam Butler. I'll tell you what, yeah, you definitely got your money's worth. And this would be an interesting, because Polamayo you can bring back easily. Meredith you can pay at the vet minimum. Chasen you're not going to have to pay a lot of money for. Kuntz, you could see bring back Spillane, Merrick, Adam Butler. I love all those. I don't know if you're going to have enough money to do everything that you have in here because Wilson's going to cost money. And then, again, you still got to give Max Crosby an extension, and that extension is going to be at least $30 million a year. A lot of good ideas. Like, I like the Milroe pairing. I like that paired a lot with somebody like Russell Wilson because I keep saying this. If the Raiders draft Jalen Milroe, I want them to put him with Russell Wilson. Like, if they sign Wilson, one of the quarterbacks that I'm going to be looking at is, in fact, Jalen Milroe to learn for a year or two, preferably 2 years under Russ, under Tom Brady. What up, Nab, man? Our current defense free agent signing, Spillane, Epps, Malcolm, maybe, all right, Adam Butler, Merrick, looks like the equal of about $40 million. Janarius Robinson adds another 10. So, I mean, Janarius Robinson, I wouldn't bring back him. I wouldn't bring back Robinson for $1.2 million. And, like, he ain't even going to – I don't think that he gets a $1.2 million contract. If he gets brought back, it would be, again, vet minimum, and that's what it would cost. For all these names here, I would say Spillane's got a good possibility. Epps at 29, I don't think is very likely. Malcolm Kuntz could be around 9, 10, 11, 12 million. Adam Butler, I could see getting about 8 or 9 mil. Merrick, I see probably being around 10. So, out of the names that you have here, you're probably going to have to pick 3. Because you're probably going to have to pick 3. You're going to have to allocate some of that money for the draft, allocate some of that money for a quarterback, allocate some of that money for, Max Crosby and any other extensions that we might give out this offseason. If you're a real one, click that subscribe button, turn on those notifications. We got over 1,000 people right now watching this live show, and I love when people hang out with us and tune into all of our programs here. We will go live every single Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, and when the offseason hits, we will go back to doing 2 live shows a week. I don't know exactly when they're going to be. It might be Friday happy hour again, but you will get at least 2 live shows every single week during the offseason. Let's go to Lamar. Would you trade for Joe Milton? As a tush-push quarterback, sure. If the New England Patriots said, hey, we'll give you Joe Milton for a 7th-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, I would show interest. I don't think Milton's ever going to be good enough to be like an everyday starter. I do think that he could have a role on a team. Again, being a tush-push QB, which I've said multiple times on this show, I think it's an important role that teams need to look at. Like, if you're going to keep a 6 linebacker, a fullback, or whatever, I want a tush-push QB where I can get 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. If you want Milton to turn into a potential starter, then no, that's just absolutely never going to happen. We got more questions coming up here in just a moment. Today's show, though, is sponsored by Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. Prize Picks is the best place to win real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, and it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last football game of the season with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the big game. Prize Picks is also giving away a free pick for the game, which happens to be on screen. It is Patrick Mahomes at 0.5 passing yards. I don't like Mahomes. Y'all don't like Mahomes. But guess what? I like putting money in my pocket. So you're dang right. I'm going to take more on Patrick Mahomes. And then I'm going to find another player. I'm going to pick more or less on one other dude. And I'm going to watch the winnings roll in. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run yo game. I was able to put some money in my pocket last week, and I'm going to put some more money in my pocket this week. Let's go to Ricky. What are your top running backs we could pick up in free agency? I am team don't pay a running back in free agency. I am team draft a running back, allocate your money that way. Though, if I had to guess which 2 backs could I see the Raiders maybe being the most interested in, I could see them maybe bringing back Amir Abdullah, but I would say the top 2 backs out there are Najee Harris. His physicality, his ability to catch the football kind of fits what Pete likes to do. I'll also say Aaron Jones. 1 year, maybe it's a cheap type of deal. He took $7 million last season, can be a back that can catch the football, can run between the tackles, offers a lot of versatility, good pass blocker as well. Getting up there in age, sure, but that could be a good 1-year rental running back. And then you also draft somebody, and then you let Aaron Jones go in 2026, and whoever the kid that you drafted is, you let him be the bell cow going forward. What up, Ron? Would you go after Stephon Diggs at wide receiver? I would not. I think Stephon Diggs is going to try to stay in Houston. And even though it sounded like his relationship in Houston was okay, a lot of drama in Buffalo. And Stephon Diggs, to me, is a diva. And I am worried of bringing in divas into this locker room when we don't know what our quarterback situation is. Let's go to Skinbone 78. Also, Diggs can't block, and I think that we're going to try to be a more physical offense. Hey, yo, who is the OC going to be? Anyone the Cheeks coaching staff that we could poach? Need to start dissembling them from the inside. You said Cheeks and dissembling from the inside. It makes me a little bit nervous. I'd say right now the top candidate is Darrell Bevell, and again, I don't know if that surprises anybody. There is yet to be a single name of saying, hey, the Raiders are 100% interested in this guy. Bevell's been a name that's been floated out there a bunch. Another name that's been floated out there is Bo Hardigree, and another name has been David Shaw. I did a video on all three of those candidates earlier in the week, so please go check it out. But if I was a betting man, I'd say Darrell Bevell right now is probably the front runner. What up, Can't Walk? Promote from within to create stability. System takes work. And this is what Jed Hughes has said. This is also what the Raiders are doing, and I think that a lot of that mentality is, you can see it. The Raiders are doing smart things this offseason. What up, Swab? What percentage would you give J.J. McCarthy still on the table? 1%. I don't think Minnesota's going to bring back Sam Darnold. I think they're going to roll forward with J.J. McCarthy. Now, obviously, if the Raiders offered the number 6 overall pick, maybe they would consider it. But if you're not willing to give up the number 6 overall pick, then J.J. McCarthy's a 0% chance of happening. Let's go to a Raiders fan. If Tom Brady picks the OC, who do you think he would want? If Tom Brady got the pick, I think he's just going to lean on his coaching staff, and I'm just going to guess that they're going to go with Darrell Bevell, where that seems to be the front runner right now. If it was up to me, I would pick Mike LaFleur. Let's go to Christian Tate. You're next up here on the show. What does an Aidan trade look like? Yikes. So again, I only brought up Aidan O'Connell's name before in trades because when Josh McDaniels went to the New England Patriots, I sat up here and I went, it wouldn't surprise me if McDaniels traded for him. I also know that I did a video recently where I said it does sound like the Raiders are going to go bridge QB, and I do still stand on the fact that I think that the Raiders are going to go with a bridge QB. So with that being said, that means that they're probably going to move on from Aidan O'Connell. Just because I've had this conversation so many times already at the Chat Sports Studios, we just get graphics built because we have Patriot shows, we have all shows for all these different teams. This is the trade that I said that I think that I would do if I was the Raiders. The Raiders receive a 5th and a 7th round pick. The Patriots get Aidan O'Connell and a 6th. So for New England, they have 3 7th rounders, no 6th round picks. For the Raiders, we have 5 6th round picks. So I figured it was a good shift. If you think that you're just going to get like a 4th for Aidan or not, this is a fair value for the overall player that O'Connell is. And again, I could see them trying to go out and get him. I would say the number 1 trade destination for Aidan would be New England. I'd also throw out the Miami Dolphins because they want to have a good backup there for Tua Tagovailoa. But I just think that if you can get value for somebody that started 17 games, has played in 20 at the QB position, when you know he's not going to be your long-term answer, this is the time to actually trade him, is this offseason. Because after this year, his value will end up going down a little bit. Let's go to Raider Prime. What would you trade to the Seahawks for DK and Tariq Woolen? So Tariq Woolen fell out of favor a little bit last season, and that was a player that I did like a lot. So I really don't think you'd have to give up too much for him. Maybe you have to give up like a 6th-round pick for him. DK Metcalf, I'll say a 2nd-round pick. So a 2nd and a 6th, but you're going to have to pay DK. Like, I would imagine the contract that the Raiders would have to give DK would be a slight raise to honestly probably what like the Texans just gave Nico Collins, which was what, about $24 million per year. I'd say you'd have to trade for DK, give up a 2nd-round pick, and then be prepared to pay him $25 to $26 million per year on a 3-year type of deal because he's only got 1 year left, so you'd have to give him that new contract. What up, Gio? Is Stafford a trade option? I don't really think so. I've seen it being circulated out there. The Rams would have to eat a lot of money to trade away Stafford. So, I just don't think that they're going to do it. I could see them being in a win-now mode. Now, Stafford has $0 million guaranteed in 2026. So because he's got 0 guaranteed in 2026, that would be more of the year that I could see a trade ending up going down. Jared, what up, man? Mitch, we need a running back. Would you rather Aaron Jones or Najee Harris? I would rather Aaron Jones, and I say that because I see Aaron Jones coming in on a 1-year deal, where I see Najee coming in on a 2 to 3 year deal. And because of that and that alone, I will take Aaron Jones. Crush Dog, what up, man? Happy birthday to the nation. The Las Vegas Raiders' birthday is January 30th, 1960, the day Oakland was granted an American Football League franchise. This is one of those dates that every single year I always tell myself I'm going to remember. Mitch, put it in your calendar. Put it in your calendar. Happy birthday to the nation out there. Gunny, I appreciate the fact that you sent that one in, man. Let's go to Jersey Boy. Offense prediction. Russ, Omarion Hampton, DK, Jacoby, Trey, Bowers, Colton, Tate Rattledge, offensive guard for, that's Georgia, JPJ Parham, and Glaze. I'll tell you what, I don't mind this prediction at all. It's a very interesting one to me. And I think Trey Tucker is going to be another sneaky candidate that gets more work because, again, he's a physical player, high school wrestler. You can tell that he likes to block. I would want to know how much we spent on defense, though, because this offense to me is an offense that you're hoping can be top 16. This is not a top 15 offense in my book. You're hoping that it can be top 16, which means you better have a top 10 defense in order to go out there and compete. Because you got this one team playing in Super Bowl 59 that unfortunately you got to compete with 2 times a year. And we will be live for the big game. So if anybody wants to tune in and hang out with Chugs and I, we're going to be going live at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I know Kansas City is the favorites in this one, but we're going to be rooting for Philadelphia the entire way. So if you're rooting with Philly with us, give us a PHI down below. And also, don't be afraid to throw in an FKC. I'm not going to judge you at all. This is going to be a really fun game. I know it's kind of a preview of the Super Bowl that we've seen most recently. I really wanted the Bills to be in this game. It is what it is, but at least we can all root for a team this year. Like, last year was tough. And if we can make it through last year, I know for a fact we can make it through this year. Fly, Eagles, fly. We'll be live on the Super Bowl, so hopefully you're pulled up, tuned in, and subscribed.